Hi guys. I had a question from a student about how to use Google to find reliable websites. They couldn't quite remember what we covered in class, and that's okay. So I made this video to help everybody out. Here's my example assignment. This is an assignment that I have given in IPC class before when we cover things like journalism and the news. Let's say I have an assignment that says research a historical event that happened in the news and discuss how it was covered by TV, radio, and newspapers. And obviously all of your teachers want you to use quality websites and find good, meaningful, factual information. But how do we do that? Sometimes it seems really overwhelming and there's lots of things on the internet. So let's get started with Google. We're going to back out of Google. We're going to back into Google rather. We're going to take a look at this. This is one of the ways that we've talked about in class for how to find reliable websites. The first thing we're going to check is credibility, to look at the author and the purpose of the website. Does it seem legitimate? Okay. So let's take a look with Google and see what we can find. Google Chrome defaults to Google as a search engine because they're from the same company, obviously. If you're not using Chrome, if you're using Firefox or Internet Explorer or anything like that, you want to type in www.google.com and you can find it easily. This is Google Iceland, which means that it will pull up Icelandic sources and Icelandic websites first before it pulls anything from other places in the world. So, since we're talking about a historical event, I'm going to go ahead and choose 9/11 because I'm an American and that was a really important thing that happened in my country. I also am going to pick this topic because I know that when it happened, it was a really big deal, which means that newspapers, radio, and TV were all over the event, and there's going to be a lot of different things out there to fit my assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and search. Whoops. I'm going to go ahead and search for 9/11 because that's what my topic is about. And right away you can see there's all kinds of things that come up in Google. First thing I want you guys to pay attention to is the bar up at the top of the Google search. There's images if I want to find pictures relating to 9/11. Videos is a great place to go, especially since I'm looking for how television news organizations covered the event. And obviously if I click on news, I'm going to get a lot of newspaper and magazine articles about 9/11. So because this assignment is about the media, this is actually a perfect stopping point for videos and news coverage. But if we take a look at the web over here on the left, you see a lot of different things jumbled up together, and it can be really overwhelming to know which one to pick. Okay, well, let me see. What are we doing? When you look at a Google search, what you can find is there's a blue link at the top. Underneath it, in green, is going to show the URL. And that's one of our important things for finding a reliable website. Okay, we talked about how .com is less reliable than something like .edu and .gov, and that's because anybody can put out a .com website, but only the government is authorized to use the .gov extension, and only educational sources like universities are allowed to use the .edu extension on their URL. So, okay, well, let's take a closer look. There's one right here that says 911memorial.org. So maybe that's a good one. We can't say based on just one piece of evidence. So we're just going to click on it and see what happens. This actually is the National 9/11 Museum. So obviously they might have a lot of good information about the event that inspired the building of this museum. Okay, let's take a look at our next criteria. The author and the purpose of the website. Does it seem legitimate? Well, as I said, this website is designed by the organization that is in charge of the 9/11 Memorial Museum. So they have a pretty straightforward reason for building this website. to remember the event and the people who died. If you click on About Us, that's always another good step to take. And it says here, the National September 11 Memorial and Museum at the World Trade Center Foundation Incorporated began formal operations in the spring of 2005. Okay, they are the ones that designed and built this project. Okay, another place to look for on a website like this is Mission. It says they want to remember and honor the thousands of innocent men, women, and children who died at the hands of terrorists on September 11th. So obviously that seems legitimate enough to me. They're not doing this for profit. They're not doing this to expose any sort of crazy conspiracy about 9/11. They are doing it as a service to remember those who passed on that day. Let's take a look at our criteria again and see what we can find out. Accuracy. Check the spelling, grammar, and dates on the website. Is it very old? Is it badly written? It might not be a good site then. Well, let's click around and see what we can say about that. Let's see. Plan your visit. Let's see. Teach and learn. Let's click on Teach and Learn. I like that because I'm a teacher. Let's take a look. Interactive 9/11 timelines. That might be really cool. Let's see. Explore web-based interactive timelines chronicling the events of September 11th, 2001. Okay, everything here looks really well done. It's very nicely put together. Somebody obviously took a lot of care to do this. If we scroll down, let's see. There's usually a copyright date here that will indicate when it was last updated. This was obviously updated sometime this year. The museum is still in operation. And I don't see any spelling mistakes or careless errors like that that we need to be aware of. There's lots of different things on this website. They have video, they have pictures, and they have these interactive timelines. Hey, that looks really cool. Wow. September 11th attack timeline. Look at this. Amazing. Okay, there's all kinds of information about what was happening that day. And I bet that's also going to include when the media got wind of it. In fact, right there you can see at 8:46 a.m. the news media was already on the scene recording the buildings as they started to fall. So these are really good materials that we're finding just on this one website about 9/11. But we want to make absolutely sure that this is a good website, so let's back up a little bit and check out our reliability. Reasonableness. Check tone and bias. Tone and bias is something that's a little bit advanced for you guys, but I'm cool with it. I'm going to tell you what it is anyway. Tone means how they talk about something. Is it formal? Is it informal? Do they talk like they ain't got no education or what? Okay, obviously this 9/11 memorial takes itself really seriously, and you can see they speak formally, they speak nicely. The National September 11th Memorial Museum serves as the country's principal institution concerned with exploring the implications of the events of 9/11. Okay, that's a really well-spoken sentence, so I wouldn't fault them for any sort of tone. Bias is something that you have to consider. Obviously, this website is going to be very pro-America. They're going to want to support America and express their sympathy for those who died. So the bias on this website is definitely for America and the American people. But in this case, since we're covering the American media, I don't think that will get in the way of your research. The last thing, support. Check the URL and any linked website for their quality. The URL up here is 911memorial.org, and as we said, they're an organization, which means they're a little bit more credible than any .com URL. .org, .edu, and .gov are generally indications of quality websites because only certain people are allowed to use those extensions. Certain people in certain businesses, rather. .org indicates an organization or a charity. .edu indicates an educational source, like a university. And .gov indicates a government source, like the Department of Homeland Security, something like that. Obviously, information coming from these kinds of sources would be much more official than something that anybody could throw up on any old .com website. Let's see, is there anything else we need to worry about? Check the URL and any linked websites. Okay, linked websites. Let's see if they have any of those. They have lots of links here, but I believe they're all to other places in the same website. I don't believe this one has any links to outside websites. They do have links to their own Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and Pinterest pages. There's a FAQ here, frequently asked questions. It all seems to be very informational and official. Okay, overall I can't find any reason that this website isn't a good one based on our criteria. We've looked at everything that we can look at for the 9/11 Memorial Museum website. The author and purpose was very legitimate. It was meant to help people remember those who died on that day. The accuracy, they had wonderful spelling, grammar, and information on the website. It was very well maintained, and it was updated at least sometime in 2014. The tone and bias was fine for the purpose of the website. The purpose of the website is, again, to celebrate the American people and to celebrate those who lost their lives on that day and remember them. And the URL is a .org website, and all the links also go to other places within the same website. So overall, it's a very well constructed site, and it has lots of information on it. It has those interactive timelines, which had lots of different media to look at. It had lots of information about the people involved and all the things that happened on the day of the attack. So overall, I think that this website is very reliable and very legitimate for what we're looking for. And if you guys will just keep these 4 kinds of things in mind when you're doing your web searches, when you're using Google, be specific, use keywords, and check the website out thoroughly, I think you guys will do a great job. If you have any questions, please email me. I'm always willing to help. Until then, bye-bye. Are you serious? I don't want to talk about it. I quit. I was just talking to myself for 12 minutes.